Welcome, welcome! Today we're making these delicious Nutella brownies. The first step is to preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit before we start scaling the ingredients. And of course, the first one we're going to start with is Nutella, or Nutella, I don't know. Anyways, we're going to start with measuring 800 grams of Nutella into a large bowl. And also all the ingredients, metric and imperial, will be listed in the description box. Next, we're going to add 4 large eggs into the bowl, aka 200 grams, because fun fact, 1 large egg equals 50 grams. Well, more like approximately 50 grams. Next, we're going to mix that together until it's all well combined. You can use a stand mixer or a hand mixer like I'm doing here, but I would definitely recommend something electric. Now we're going to add in 157 grams of all-purpose flour, 2 grams of salt, and 7 grams of baking powder, which I forgot to film, but whatever. Now we're going to mix that together until it's all incorporated. I started on a low speed and then gradually increased it because I didn't want the flour to go everywhere. And this is what the batter should look like. So for the pan, I used this one that's 13 by 9 by 2 inches, and I just greased it with your basic cooking spray. Then I used this parchment paper to cover the whole bottom, and I had 2 pieces sticking out on the sides so it'd be easier for me to take the brownie out later. And now you can pour your batter in and spread it out evenly in the pan. Once that's done, you can bake it for 20 to 30 minutes, and it should look like this. Okay, well actually I overbaked mine a little tiny bit, and the parchment paper also kind of stuck to the brownie while it was baking, but it's totally fine, no one cares. So now for the chocolate buttercream on top, it's totally optional, but I definitely recommend it. We're gonna start with 112 grams of softened salted butter in a bowl, and we're gonna whip it until it's pale and fluffy. Should look something like this. Next, we're gonna add 24 grams of cocoa powder and then mix that in until it's combined. And then we're gonna add some melted chocolate. I like to use semi-sweet chocolate, but if you prefer dark chocolate or milk chocolate, that's totally fine. This was 43 grams of Hershey's chocolate chips, but if you'd rather use a different brand of chocolate, by all means, go right ahead. Now we're gonna add 250 grams of icing sugar and a couple tablespoons of warm water, which I added in like halfway through mixing the icing sugar. And I said warm water because it melts the butter just a little bit more and gets the buttercream to a really nice consistency for spreading. Now I'm scraping down the sides just to make sure everything gets well incorporated and giving it one last mix. I usually make this buttercream while my brownie is cooling so that by the time I'm done, my brownie's ready to be iced. But either way, you're going to want to wait till your brownie is completely cool before icing it so that the buttercream doesn't melt. So here you can really see where I overbaked my brownie along the sides, but it doesn't matter because anytime I make this brownie, I cut off the sides anyways so that it's all nice and even. But before we do that, we're going to spread our chocolate buttercream all across the top. I'm using an offset spatula and I'm pushing it right to the edge to make nice clean cuts later. This next part is also optional, but if you want to be fancy, you can go ahead and use a cake comb to make these little lines going across the top. If you don't have a cake comb, you can use a fork to make little patterns, but if you are using a comb, I recommend heating it up to get really nice lines in the buttercream. And finally, we're going to come in with a sharp serrated knife and cut off all those ugly edge pieces. Usually I just throw away these pieces, but one time my family saw them all in the garbage and they were just horrified, so now they want me to save them. Okay, so now we're gonna cut the rest of this thing into little servings. And when you're doing this, you wanna wipe your knife between every cut so that you don't drag buttercream through the next slice. And it's also helpful to have a warm knife, so what you can do is have a bucket of warm water nearby or do this next to the sink and just dip your knife in the hot water, give it a wipe, and then keep going with the cuts. And then for the portion sizes, it kind of depends on what pan you bake yours in. For mine, I can get 40 servings out of this one, and I'm also not picky about each one being the same size because these were just for my family. But I did 8 cuts down and then 5 across. And then I don't know the exact size of each square because, again, I'm not picky about that. And it really doesn't matter too much. You can just cut it however you want. You can just even have it as one giant brownie if that's what your heart desires. Side note, I love how half of this tutorial is literally, this is what I do, but you can do whatever you want, no big deal. So once you're done slicing up your brownies, you can put them on a nice plate and serve them to all your friends and family. These seriously have the best flavor and they're so moist and chewy. I hope you have fun making them. Bye!